In the vast, barren stretches of Nevada rests the Silverbird Diner, a seemingly unremarkable spot catering to the tired and restless travelers and night owls who wander its way. But for Diego Morales, newly hired on the night shift, this diner is far from ordinary. As he encounters haunting challenges and serves spectral guests, Diego finds himself drawn into a realm where the boundary between life and death fades, revealing the diner's profound and mysterious nature. Welcome, dear viewers. For more exclusive and thrilling stories every week, join our membership. Sit back, relax, and enjoy your coffee. My name is Diego Morales, and I never imagined I'd be working the graveyard shift, flipping hash browns at 3 a.m. in the middle of nowhere, Nevada. 2 years ago, I was finishing my aviation maintenance certification in Reno, dreaming of working on jets at busy airports. But when my mom fell ill, medical bills piled up like tumbleweeds against the fence. Suddenly, the steady paycheck mattered more than chasing dreams. The Silverbird Diner is located about 15 miles south of Tonopah, right beside a regional airstrip that mostly sees cargo planes and the occasional private jet. It's one of those classic 1950s aluminum diners, curves and chrome set down in the desert like it had been dropped from the sky. During the day, the customers are truckers, airport workers, and the odd tourist who might have taken a wrong turn somewhere around Vegas. At night, however, that's when things get truly interesting. I took the night shift because it paid an extra $2 an hour. Honestly, how hard could it be? Just serving coffee to insomniacs, maybe flipping some pancakes for pilots catching red-eye flights. The previous night shift worker, Tommy B. Gay, trained me for 3 shifts before leaving. He moved back to the reservation near Pyramid Lake, saying he couldn't handle the weird stuff anymore. I thought he meant difficult customers. The diner's owner, Mrs. Chun, yes, not quite what you'd expect in rural Nevada, but her family has been here since the railroad days, handed me a folded piece of paper with house rules on my first solo night. "Follow them exactly," she said, her accent still thick after 40 years in the desert. She warned me, "The phone behind the counter hasn't worked since 1987, but answer it anyway." That should have been my cue to walk away, but I needed the job too badly to question these eccentric small-town quirks. Mrs. Chun left me with the keys, a thermos of black coffee strong enough to dissolve paint, and a warning to trust what I see, not what makes sense. The first few nights passed without incident. I learned a routine. Coffee for cargo pilots, breakfast burritos for mechanics, endless refills for long-haul truckers who treat the place like a second home. The diner felt ordinary, worn vinyl booths, a grill that wheezed alive with every crank, and a jukebox that only played songs from before I was born. But I knew, somehow, that my nights at the Silverbird Diner were about to become anything but normal. As Diego took over the night shift at the Silverbird Diner, Mrs. Chun, the veteran owner, handed him a folded piece of paper outlining peculiar house rules. With a thick accent betraying decades spent in the desert, she cautioned him to follow the instructions exactly, advising him never to ask questions. Among the most cryptic directives was the instruction to always answer the rotary phone behind the counter. Despite it having been disconnected since 1987, this odd warning served as a harbinger for the otherworldly occurrences destined to unfold during Diego's nightly vigil. Armed with these strange protocols, Diego stepped into a realm where the ordinary rules no longer applied, setting the tone for his surreal journey, serving phantom patrons, and navigating the diner's hidden mysteries. On my 4th night alone at the Silverbird Diner, the impossible happened. The old rotary phone behind the counter began ringing. Its cord was visibly frayed and disconnected, a relic that hadn't worked since 1987. Yet the persistent trill echoed softly over the hum of the refrigerator. Remembering Mrs. Chen's warnings, I hesitated briefly before picking up the receiver. "Silverbird Diner," I said, trying to mask my unease. Through the static, a whisper-like voice responded, "2 burgers, fries, black coffee, flight 77. Then the line went dead. leaving me holding a phone that, by all logic, shouldn't have worked. I stared at the empty room. The parking lot beyond the window was deserted, and no planes were scheduled to land or take off that night. Who could this phantom customer be, ordering a meal tied to a flight that didn't exist? As I prepared the meal mechanically, salting the patties, flipping fries, and brewing coffee, my mind raced for explanations. Perhaps radio interference or some strange atmosphere phenomenon was bleeding strange signals from the nearby airstrip. But the more I tried to rationalize, the more the surreal nature of the diner seeped in. When I placed the finished order on the far end of the counter, I noticed a list of house rules tucked beneath the register. One stood out: always answer the phone, even when it's disconnected. Flight 77 orders the same meal every time, and the food must be prepared and set out, never to be watched. Completing that order marked the moment I realized the Silverbird Diner was far from ordinary. It was a doorway to mysteries that blurred the line between the living and the lost. In the nights following the strange phone call, Diego gradually realized the Silverbird Diner was far from ordinary. The invisible guests started to make their presence known in eerie ways. He observed ghostly figures drifting through the dimly lit dining area, occasionally requesting coffee or pie despite their intangible forms. Sometimes, wet footprints appeared mysteriously, leading to nowhere, like echoes of silent footsteps only he could sense. Diego learned to follow peculiar protocols for serving both the visible and the unseen customers. He became attuned to subtle signs, like the cold spots where a spectral patron had just sat, or the fleeting scent of a familiar fragrance lingering in the air. Though the diner appeared empty to the casual eye, Diego understood that the night shift served a different kind of clientele, trapped between worlds, yearning for some semblance of normalcy and care. Every order fulfilled was a small act of kindness extended to those caught in the haunting in-between, reinforcing Diego's growing connection to this mysterious realm. During one quiet night shift, Diego met Jake Winters, a former worker who shared stories about eerie phantom flights that didn't appear on any official schedules. Jake's worn face carried the weight of sleepless nights and unexplained visions. He recounted how, when working cargo shifts at the nearby airstrip, he sometimes witnessed planes, old models from decades past, landing and then vanishing without taking off. More unsettling were the glimpses of passengers walking toward the diner, only to fade away mysteriously before reaching the doors. Jake's tales hinted at the deep, restless nature of the diner's otherworldly visitors, notably the chilling story of Flight 77, whose fatal crash years ago lingered as an unresolved enigma that now seemed intertwined with the diner's haunting mysteries. As Jake cautioned Diego, he urged him not to seek rational explanations, but to adhere to Mrs. Chen's peculiar rules, emphasizing the importance of keeping a low profile and respecting the unseen forces at play. Their shared confidences left Diego grappling with a profound unease as the fragments of Jake's experiences began to reveal the diner's true, spectral realm. Diego's curiosity deepened as he stumbled upon a hidden part of the diner, the walk-in cooler, tasked by a mysterious note left unexpectedly after one of his unsettling nights. He cautiously opened the heavy metal door. A sharp chill swept over him, the air inside colder than the desert night outside, making his breath visible in soft clouds. Inside, alongside the usual perishables, was a shelf unlike any other, the sixth shelf, aged and out of place. Upon it lay a collection of personal items: a pilot's cap adorned with gold braiding, a worn child's sneaker, a weathered leather wallet, and a woman's simple wedding ring. Each bore a small tag, painstakingly attached with string, resembling toe tags in a morgue. Intrigued, Diego examined the tags. One read D. Restrepo, Flight 77, March 15th, 2008. Another, Patterson, age 8, lost at airstrip, July 1995, and yet another Helen Cortez. Walked into desert, October 2001. It was a chilling inventory, chronicling artifacts left behind by those who had vanished in the desert's unforgiving expanse near the airstrip. Decades of disappearances, their belongings somehow brought to rest here, nestled within the diner's frosty sanctuary. Among the items, Diego discovered an envelope marked with his name. Inside was a typewritten sheet. Rule 6. The lost leave pieces of themselves behind. Keep them safe. They may return for them someday. The note went on. Rule 7. If a customer asks for directions to somewhere that doesn't exist, give them anyway. Point them toward the airstrip. Some journeys can only be completed by those who are already gone. Absorbing the weight of these revelations, Diego realized the Silverbird Diner was far more than a roadside eatery. It was a refuge for the lost, a bridge between worlds, quietly preserving fragments of lives interrupted and journeys unfulfilled. As he closed the cooler door, a cold shiver ran through him, reminding him of the profound responsibility now resting in his hands. One quiet morning, as the desert began to lighten with the first hints of dawn, I noticed a young girl sitting alone in the far corner booth of the diner. She was maybe 8 or 9 years old, dressed in a faded yellow sundress and white sneakers, one shoe on, the other foot bare. Her dark hair was braided neatly, tied with red ribbons. She hadn't been there a moment ago. "Are you okay?" I asked softly, trying not to startle her. She didn't respond, nor did she turn to acknowledge me. Instead, she was focused on tracing invisible patterns on the table with her finger, humming a haunting melody that sounded strangely familiar yet distorted, as if from decades past. "Honey, what's your name?" I ventured again, moving around the booth to face her. Her eyes were startling, pure white, with no pupils or irises, yet somehow still tracking me as I shifted. "Mia," she said without moving her lips. Her voice seemed to echo, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. "My name is Mia Patterson." The name struck a chord. Mia Patterson, the little girl whose sneaker I'd seen in the walk-in cooler, tagged with the date she was lost at the airstrip back in July of 1995. "Mia, how did you get here?" I asked gently. "I've been waiting," she replied as she continued to draw delicate frost-like patterns across the table with her finger. "Waiting for someone to help me find my way home." "Where's home?" I pressed. Her voice softened, momentarily taking on the fragile tone of a scared child who is lost. "I don't remember. I was playing by the plains, and then I couldn't find my mommy. I've been looking for so long." The weight of her loneliness pierced me deeply. I realized she was far more than a ghost or a shadow. She was a wounded spirit, trapped in the echo of a tragedy that refused to let her rest. I wanted to help her, to bring her peace, but Mrs. Chin's warning echoed in my mind. Some lost souls couldn't be saved, only contained. Before I could offer comfort, the phone rang insistently. I hesitated, torn between Rule 1, always answer the phone, and Jake's counsel to avoid answering while visitors were present. Mia spoke softly, her unblinking eyes fixed on me. "You should answer. It might be important." Reluctantly, I picked up the receiver, hearing Mrs. Chin's younger voice on the line. "Do not engage with the child," she warned. "Do not try to help her. Some wounds in this world are too deep. Serve her milk and cookies, nothing else. When she's done, she will leave. Don't speak to her, don't make promises, don't try to reunite her with her family. She's a permanent echo. Help her too much, and she will try to take you with her." The line went dead, leaving me staring at the frost-spreading patterns creeping across the table like an otherworldly web. I brought Mia a glass of milk and 2 chocolate chip cookies, my hands trembling as I placed them before her. She accepted them with polite grace, taking tiny bites while humming that eerie melody. "Are you married?" she suddenly asked, breaking the silence. "No," I replied. "Do you have kids?" "No. Would you like some? I know where lots of children are. We could play forever and ever." a chill that had nothing to do with the night's air conditioning pricked at me. I needed to get back to work, but Mia, with her frost-traced table and endless waiting, would remain in my thoughts long after the last cookie was eaten. As night deepened, an ominous energy settled over the Silverbird Diner. The fragile boundary separating our world from the ones beyond began to falter, heralding a convergence unlike any I had witnessed before. The air grew heavy and cold, frost creeping along the edges of the windows as shadows lengthened and thickened. Inside, the atmosphere shifted palpably. The diner's familiar hum was replaced by murmurs and restless movements. Mrs. Chan appeared at the top of the basement stairs, her face pale yet resolute, explaining the gravity of the moment. "This convergence is feeding the spirits all at once," she said gravely. "It's a delicate balance. If it breaks, the restless may spill beyond this place." From the darkness, spectral figures emerged, their forms flickering between the tangible and the ethereal. Tommy, once a guide, now appeared transformed, translucent skin stretched tight over hollow space, eyes the black void of endless night. Daniel Restrepo stood nearby, his pilot's uniform scorched and smeared with the remnants of the crash that bound him here. Mia Patterson's icy tears shattered upon the linoleum, and Jake Winters flickered between shadow and substance. They were drawn together by this surge of otherworldly force, hunger and desperation thick in the chilled air. Agitation roiled within them, the suppressed pains and unfinished journeys breaking through the veil. Amid the chaos, Mrs. Chun commanded calm, instructing us to serve every manifestation and contain the disruption before it could spread. But the onslaught intensified. The diner plunged into darkness, the overhead lights extinguished as the spirit's acrid breath misted in the cooling air. Tommy's voice echoed unnaturally, layered and eerie. "We are caught between worlds, Diego. The line grows thinner every night. Some of US will cross over, whether you wish it or not." Frozen by fear, but understanding the stakes, I moved toward the register where Mrs. Chan directed me to press an emergency button. Despite Tommy's desperate warnings, I activated the containment system, a low mechanical hum vibrating through the floor and walls as icy stillness reclaimed the diner. One by one, the spirits retreated, their forms melting back into translucent echoes. Tommy's gaze softened as he murmured his thanks. Although the hunger remained, the balance was restored for now. This convergence had tested me, revealing the profound responsibility woven into my nights at Silverbird Diner to serve, to protect, and to hold the fragile threshold between life and the lost. As the night drew on, Tommy B's presence grew increasingly ethereal, his form flickering between solid and spectral, like a wavering flame caught in the desert wind. What was once a steady mentor now appeared fragile, an embodiment of the delicate boundary we all tread between this world and the next. His eyes, once familiar, had darkened into a deep, endless void, reflecting the consuming hunger that seemed to grip him. He approached me with an urgent desperation, his voice layered with a resonance that no longer sounded fully human. Tommy warned me about the dangers of staying too long, explaining that the night shift wasn't just about serving lost souls. It was about surviving the slow dissolution of one's own tether to the living. He confessed that the line between caretaker and captive thins with every passing night, and that he himself was slipping beyond that fragile divide. The diner itself began to thrum with a chilling energy. As the supernatural presence intensified, shadows lengthened unnaturally, the air thickened with frost, and ghostly figures coalesced faster than ever before. Tommy urged me to activate the containment system, the only defense we had to keep the restless spirits from overrunning not just the diner, but the surrounding world. This form flickered wildly, a poignant mixture of warning and resignation. "We are not the monsters here," he insisted, "but the prisoners, bound by this place, sustained by fragments of life energy, yet never truly free." I hesitated, pressed away the cost of locking them away against the risk of letting the convergence consume us all. With a final, somber nod from Tommy, I found a small red switch beneath the counter and pressed it. Immediately, a low hum filled the air, and a frantic manifestations began to wane, their forms growing less solid as the containment field engaged. Tommy's gaze softened for a fleeting moment. Gratitude and sorrow etched deeply in his translucent face. He implored me to watch over them, and myself, that I might not suffer the same fate. As the diner returned to a quieter state, illuminated only by the early hints of dawn, I realized the night shift was no longer just a job. It was a constant battle to maintain the fragile balance between worlds and to resist becoming part of the very ghosts we served. Diego finally embraced the reality of his new existence at the Silverbird Diner. After surviving the harrowing convergence, he understood the heavy responsibility he now bore, caring for those caught between life and death. No longer just a night shift cook, he had become a guardian of restless souls, tasked with maintaining the fragile balance at this supernatural crossroads. The diner wasn't merely a place to serve food. It was a sanctuary, a liminal space where the lost could find momentary peace. He recognized that his role was part of a long legacy, stretching back decades through the Chun family stewardship and those who had come before him. Though the weight of his duty pressed upon him, Diego found purpose in the knowledge that each lost spirit had a story, a reason to linger, and that he was now their protector. His connections to the living world, the memories of his mother, his own dreams, would be his anchor as he navigated this eerie existence. With acceptance came resolve. Diego was prepared to face the challenges ahead, understanding that sometimes serving the lost meant more than mere kindness. It meant safeguarding the living from the dangers that lay beyond the veil. He had stepped into a realm where few tread, and though the path was uncertain and often lonely, he knew he was exactly where he was meant to be. In the end, Diego Morales' experience at the Silverbird Diner reveals a profound intertwining of destiny and duty. Through his journey, he learns to navigate the complex and delicate role of caretaker for those caught between worlds, recognizing that each lost soul carries a meaningful story deserving of compassion. Now firmly rooted as the protector of these restless spirits, Diego embraces his place in this hidden realm, forever connected to a reality he never anticipated yet cannot leave behind. If this tale of the Silverbird Diner sparked your curiosity and you want to dive into more thrilling stories like this, make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share. Your support helps keep these supernatural journeys alive.